What are the 7 deadly habits that are preventing you from having really good relationships? I want to break that down today, and I want you to stay with me to the end, because after we look at those 7 deadly habits, then we're going to look at the 7 caring habits that will help you have and build better relationships. I am Dr. Margaret Beyer at Dr. Maggie Therapy, and I have a PhD in marriage and family therapy with 30 plus years of experience working with individuals, couples, and families to build better relationships. And please, before I jump into this, please hit like and subscribe to help me build my channel. And if you have any comments or questions, put them down below and I'll try to answer as many as I can. All right. Dr. William Glasser talks about choice theory. He wrote the book, Choice Theory, and he talks about 7 deadly habits that prevent us from having really good relationships. That we make a choice every day. Everything we do is about making choices. And so we choose how we treat other people. So breaking those 7 deadly habits down, they are criticism, blaming, complaining, nagging, threatening, punishing, and bribing. So those are things that you'll see people, we're trained to do those from early childhood, that our parents might have been, criticizing us, and that we have been nagged to get your room clean, or we have been blamed for things that happened that may have been even out of our control. So these are deadly habits that prevent us from having good relationships. You'll find us when we start blaming people, criticizing them, nagging them, always trying to punish or threaten, that it makes people not trust us, not want to be around us. And yet we do this almost automatically as a knee-jerk reaction. So you have to recognize first that you're doing these things, and then you have to choose to not do them. And when you make that choice, if you screw up, you have to apologize and say, I'm sorry, I am really, that is a bad habit I am trying to break. And so when you break these habits, it takes time, it takes practice. Don't give up. Remember, you're making a choice in the way that you treat other people. So choose to treat them in a better way. Now, you'll notice some of these are kind of mirror some of the other things that we've talked about. I've talked about on another video, I talked about the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And that would be the criticism, the defensiveness, the contempt, and the stonewalling. And so these are mirrored in choice theory. And it's much of the same idea. How do you get along with people? When you treat people with criticism, when you treat them with blaming or threatening or punishing or nagging or bribing, then you are breaking down this whole layer of trust that you need to have really good relationships. So one of the other things that Dr. Glasser talks about is how we have developed over time this need for power over other people. He actually says that we had too much time on our hands. Once, we started an agrarian culture and everything was based on agriculture, and we started having the industry take over. We had time on our hands, and so now we have to control others. I don't know if I completely agree with that, but I do see the point that when we try to control other people, we are really destroying our relationships. When Dr. Glasser talks about choice theory, he is saying we can only choose for ourselves. We cannot choose for someone else. And so when I make a choice to treat people in a good way, and when I choose not to use these 7 deadly habits, I can only choose for myself. I cannot choose for another person. If they continue to use those 7 deadly habits, then that's on them. But that doesn't mean that I will let their behavior dictate mine. It was really funny the other day. I was bent out of shape about some issues with the repairman in my stove. Silly, okay? But I was really bent out of shape. And so that for a little while I was kind of growling, upset, frowning. And my 5-year-old granddaughter says to me, "You need to turn your frown upside down." And then we were talking about the issues around that. And she says, you can't control anybody but yourself. And I thought, well, little girl, you are on your way to becoming a really good therapist, because that's the truth. We cannot control other people. We only can control ourselves. And so we make a choice how we are going to act toward other people. And think about it. Do you want to be around people who are criticizing? Do you want to be around someone who is complaining or nagging or bribing or punishing or threatening? Do you want to have any of that in your life? Of course not. So I said I was going to talk about the things that are the healthy or helping or caring habits. And so Dr. Glasser lists those as being supportive, being encouraging, being accepting, being trusting, listening, respecting, or giving people, value, recognizing their value, and negotiating. So those are things that people do, and those are good habits. Those are things that we want to do to make our relationships better. When you are around someone who treats you as they respect you and value you, when they are supportive or encouraging, you want to be around them more. So I want people to be around me. So I try to exercise and practice these habits, these healthy, caring habits. Interestingly, Dr. Glasser says that only about 20% of married couples are really happy for the lifetime of their relationship, because they are the ones who are practicing these supportive, caring habits. Think about that. That's pretty grim. But if you know that you can change that outcome for yourself in your relationship, if you can improve your relationship by simply stopping the deadly habits of being criticizing and complaining and bribing and threatening and punishing, if you're no longer nagging, if you are just simply being supportive and caring, if you are being encouraging, if you are negotiating, if you're treating people with value and respecting them, your relationship is going to improve. Don't you want to do that? I have a lot of my clients will say, well, if they're not going to be nice to me, I'm not going to be nice to them. And my thought is, if that is the criteria for you to be nice, then you're never going to have a really good, strong relationship. We have to lead by example. We have to live the life that we want to live. And when we do that, we find that people ultimately will respond that way as well. So it's not that we can control them by being nice to them, but we can improve the odds. I will often say also that if you're with someone who is habitually practicing the 7 deadly habits, you can choose to leave. But if you want to have a good relationship, you have to practice the 7 caring, healthy habits. So what do? If you want to have good, healthy relationships, if you want to build a better relationship, I want you to remember that there are 4 basic needs that Dr. Glasser cites. He says that the first one is to survive. The second one is to love and to belong in a tribe, in a group. The third one is to have freedom. And then he says to have fun. He says these are basic needs for all mammals. It's a little bit different than Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I think that these are well spoken. And then he said that we also develop that need for power. But looking at those 4 basic needs, how do we promote those in our relationships? We want to help each other survive. We want to love each other, and we want to know that we belong to each other. We want to have the freedom to choose what we do, and we want to be able to have fun. And when we are doing those things in our relationships, we are going to be practicing those healthy, caring habits. I suppose ultimately the saying live and let live is what Dr. Glasser is really talking about. I encourage you to look at his work because it is very important in helping us realize that when we have choices, we choose how we live. We really do have control over our lives. And when we have control over our lives, our anxiety seems to dissipate. We know that we can choose how we respond to others. And when we do that, we will be in a much better place. Okay, thanks for listening. And I want you to please remember to like and subscribe and help me out to build my channel. See you soon. Bye.